Hola y bienvenido a Learn Spanish in SpanishDicts.com. I'm Paralee Whitmire and I'm your teacher. Today you'll be learning how to express where you go for what using the verb ir, like voy a la biblioteca para leer, vas al cine para ver una película y mucho más. ¡Vámonos! Now that you're learning Spanish and you already know how to have a great introductory conversation, including greetings, and to discuss what you like and dislike to eat and do, all you need to know now in a new city is where to go to do those things. Hopefully, if you meet someone in a new city, they know a little bit about the place so that when you ask a question like, ¿A dónde vas para bailar?, they can tell you where you need to go in order to dance. ¿A dónde vas para literally means, where do you go in order? And you can follow it up with any infinitive. ¿A dónde vas para comer? ¿A dónde vas para ir de compras? ¿A dónde vas para ver una película? Remember, an infinitive is any verb that ends in AR, ER, or IR, and it always means to something. An appropriate answer would include the word voy, which means I go. And this is one of those words where you're going to have to focus a little bit on the pronunciation. In Spanish, V's and B's sound a lot alike, and they're pretty much just a mixture of the two letters. Voy, repite, voy, muy bien. After voy, you're going to need a, which means to. So you have I go to. And then you'll need a noun, which is going to include the definite article, el or la. And then you can make a complete answer by including the part of the question, para, and then whatever the infinitive was. So if you ask me, ¿A dónde vas para bailar?, I can answer with, voy al club nocturno para bailar. And I know I said that you needed a and then el or la, right? But when you have a and el right next to each other, they combine to form a new word, al. And when you say a and el right next to each other really quickly, you'll end up saying al anyway. So it's just important to remember when you're writing that it's al and not al. Okay? Voy al club nocturno para bailar. I go to the nightclub in order to dance. So if you asked me where I like to go for a walk, and I responded with this sentence, voy a el parque para dar un paseo, what should we change? Bien, if you said the a and el need to get together and form al, then you are perfectly right. Voy al parque para dar un paseo. Muy bien. You'll get the hang of it with just a little bit more practice. I'll give you an activity in English and then in Spanish, and then you ask me where I go in order to do that thing. For example, if I say, to ride a bicycle, montar en bicicleta, then all you have to say is, ¿A dónde vas para montar en bicicleta? And then I'll answer. ¿Listo? To ride a bicycle, montar en bicicleta. Voy al parque para montar en bicicleta. To play sports. Jugar deportes. Voy al parque para jugar deportes. To watch a movie. Ver una película. Voy al cine para ver una película. To ski, esquiar. Voy a las montañas para esquiar. To read, leer. Voy a la biblioteca para leer. Perfect. I think you have the hang of voy, I go, and vas, you go. But what about the rest of the conjugations? What about he or she goes, we go, or they go? Now, I bet you've noticed by now that ir is a little bit different from some of the other verbs that you've learned. For starters, if the infinitive is ir, how do we get voy or vas? That's because ir is an irregular verb. Now don't freak out. Just because it's irregular doesn't mean that it's not fun. Actually, they're pretty unique. They're kind of like the rock stars of verbs. Well, they're different to say the least, but they're not that difficult. They just have a few unique things that you need to learn about them before you start conjugating. So let's take our verb ir. And you would normally find the stem by taking off the last two letters, right? But what's left when you take off the last two letters of ir? Nothing. So instead of nothingness, we're going to use the letter V. And instead of IR endings like you would expect, we're going to use AR endings. I told you irregular verbs like to follow their own rules, didn't I? So let's take a look at our little conjugation chart. We've already put that V up there as our stem. All right? Now, can you tell me the endings for a regular AR verb starting with the second person singular, the to form? As, which gives us vas, which you already know. Then the third person for él, ella, and usted. What's the AR ending? A. So you have va, he or she goes or you go. And then first person plural for nosotros or nosotras. Vamos, vamos, we go. And second person plural in Spain for vosotros. Ais, don't forget that accent, vais, you plural go. And last, third person plural for ellos, ellas, and ustedes. An, van, they go. Good. Now the only one we have left is the yo form, the first person singular. But we've been practicing with that this whole lesson. Do you remember how to say I go? Voy. So add that to the chart, and there you have it, your first irregular verb. Are you ready for a quick quiz? Which conjugation of ir means we go? Vamos. They go. Van. You go. There are two answers for this one. Vas and va for formal you. I go. Voy. He goes. Va and you go, plural. There are two answers for this one too. Vais if you're in Spain, and van for everywhere else. Fenomenal! Now, let's try practicing with these conjugations. We'll use vamos first. We'll do this just like we did in the last exercise. I'll give you an activity in English and what it means in Español. You ask me, ¿a dónde vamos? Para, and then the activity that I gave you. I'll answer, and you repeat. Listo? To scuba dive. Bucear. Vamos al mar para bucear. To study. Estudiar. Vamos a la biblioteca para estudiar. Now do the same thing for van. Simply change your question to ¿a dónde van? Para, and I'll tell you where they go in order to do certain activities. ¿Listo? To eat. Comer. Ellos van al restaurante para comer. To run. Correr. Van al parque para correr. To fish. Pescar. Van al mar para pescar.